All right, welcome everybody. Um, this is an interesting topic I wished to share with all of you, and that is to talk about love. Moses now says that it is a commandment to love. He tells us that whoever loves God maintains 10 sayings and passes 10 tests. We hear about great love and everlasting love, and that the two are one without division. The faithful shepherd asserts that love surpasses every other kind of worship there is in the whole world. So I'll read from that first verse to connect to the energy, and then we'll discuss. פיקודה לאהבה, והאור כמנה רחימו דקודשה בריחוד, דבעי ברנש לרחמה, לרחימו סגה כאברהם, דרכים לקודשה בריחו בכמה רחימו. ומסר גופה ונפשה לגבי מכאן ולפנה, מן דרכים לקודשה בריחו. יהיו מקיים השר אמירן, אלא ותתה ועל דא כל אינון 10 ניסיוני דהית נשא אברהם. וקיים בכולו לקבל השר אמירן, כל ניסיונה אמירה היא. והתנסה בהיו אמירה, וקיים בה. It is a commandment to love. We explain that the love for the Holy One, blessed be He, means that man should love Him, the Creator, with great love, as did Abraham, who loved the Holy One, blessed be He, with great love, and he risked his body and soul for His sake. From this, we derive that whoever loves the Holy One, blessed be He, maintains 10 sayings, namely 10 sfirot, above and below. Hence, all these 10 tests Abraham underwent and withstood correspond to the 10 sayings, since every test is one saying, namely one sephirah. And he was tested by that saying and withstood it. So, as I'm reading, this paragraph, and then, if you wish to study, it's page 43 of the book Vayetchanan in the English Zohar, English Aramaic Zohar. It's on volume 22. And it's talking about love. Love is a big topic in religions and spirituality. Love the neighbor as thyself, etc. And it is a topic that is very controversial and very difficult to assert and very difficult to digest. I mean, you can love somebody that is dear to you, such as your child, given that you have a good relationship with your child. I know a lot of people that do not have a good relationship with your child or one of their children, and it is a source of aggravation, it is a source of strife and a source of conflict and a source of sadness and sorrow. So that's not what we're talking about. So is it the love that you have for your child that you do love and that child loves you back? And a lot of times, by the way, it's possible that the child doesn't love you back the same way, or is way too spoiled, and no matter what this child could do or could have done, you're still going to love your child because it is your own blood and your own DNA. Is that the love that we're talking about, or the commandment that there is to love? So when we study the Zohar, we understand that commandment is a mistranslation. But rather, and it says here the 10 sayings. So it's not God commands you to A, B, and C. The Creator says, like a story. Imagine that you're telling your child the first time that he discovers or she discovers fire. You tell them as a story, so that you're not going to scare them and petrify them and traumatize them, but you're going to show them. Maybe you're going to do a little demonstration, like a fake demonstration, hot, 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 right? Like you're going to use, words and discussion to explain simplistic concepts. They're simple concepts, as fire burns and ice is cold, right? And so, I'm helping my 2 year old to experience cold. I just take, like a can of water, soda, whatever, from the fridge, and I put it in her neck. So at the beginning, she's like, hi, like she's all laughing and joking and, like all, but after a while, she's like, like you can see that it bothers her. It's not a pleasant, unless it's like 100 degrees out there and you put like, like something icy, it's really nice. But in what I'm trying to say is that you do not command, do not touch fire. Because when you're telling a child, do not touch fire, the next thing that he's going to do is touch fire. And the same thing for many other things. Like there are gazillion of other things that we know, that books and doctors and science are saying, if you do this, it's not good for your health. And here you go, people smoke and people do drugs and people give it into all sorts of things that we know are not good. I've witnessed somebody who was, is diabetic. I don't know what level, but it's really not good. Every time that he exaggerates, he has to do like a tour at the hospital. He knows that it's not good for him, but at least once a week or every so often, he's going to grab like a basket of dates and he's going to swallow it. And he knows that he's going to end up in the hospital, or he's going to see like a tablet of chocolate. He's not going to take a cube or a line, let's call it like a line. He's going to eat the whole thing, even though he knows that it's not good for him. So this is what I'm trying to say, right? So I could tell you, but still it is your decision if you're going to do it, right? So this is basically the relationship that there is between the universe, God, Hashem, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, or whatever you call it, that is giving us, directions, and is telling us, that story, and then it's up to us. So the Ten Commandments, they're not commandments, they are Asara Devarim, or the 10 sayings. Devarim, which is basically the name of those utterances, they are not commandments. It is a mistranslation for over 3,000 years. Yehuda has never been the 10 commandments. Hollywood went after the 10 commandments, and religious scriptures went after the 10. It's not commandment. It is sayings. It is advice. It is guidance. It is me sharing with you from my experience. I know that if you take this direction, this path, it could be good for you. And if you take this path, well, that might be not as pleasant. But then at the end of the day, it is up to you. What are you going to do with that information? And so here comes love. Love is a saying. Love is not a commandment. But we're not talking here about the love that there is for your own DNA or for your own child or for your spouse. And, like I'm thinking about, um, like people that fall in love. A lot of times, and by the way, the expression just says it all: to fall in love, to fall out of love. The expression says it all. You have, over 50-60% of all marriages that end up in divorce. So how can you bet such big decisions, life decisions, to get married, to tie the knot, to have children, to buy a house, pay the mortgage, etc., etc., and you could almost, like bet on it that you're going to spend the rest of your life with that individual. And when you made those decisions, you were certain. But then a year down the line, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, 30, 60 years. There are people that divorce after like 50, 60 years of marriage. Don't ask me why. There are reasons, and every single person is unique and needs to follow their heart and their calling. But what is it that made you feel that this was the greatest love that you could ever experience? You could swear that you could not live without this person. You could swear that you see yourself living your entire life, your entire existence with that individual. I mean, I'm taking this as an example because like it's like this love passion, and I'm not talking about like the love that you marry because of financial, comfort or whatnot. Gold diggers as they call them, right? It's like like you see like all these expression that are flourishing. I just like not so long ago, actually, it's thanks to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok that I learned about the expression. I mean, I knew about the concept, but gold digger, just like you can have a gold digger that is a woman with a man, but also vice versa. And it's not only in a romantic relationship. You can see it also with friends. You can see it with friends. It's from the moment that somebody is like, like excuse the expression, but he's like the cow, and the other person comes to milk the cow, right? So you can have that scenario almost in any capacity. Friends, colleagues, boss, partners, investors, whatnot. Like you can have this in such a huge capacity in so many contexts. And so again, we're talking here about love. So what kind of love are we talking about? Because here the Zohar is talking about, about Abraham, that represents that idea of love. And he loved, it says that he really loved the Creator. But when you look at his story, it is through the people that he loved God. He didn't love God by meditating and praying 15 hours a day. There are people that love God and they pray 20 hours a day. There are people that meditate day in and day out and they don't eat for 40 days. There are all sorts of levels, I would say, of loving God. But the way that Abraham loved God was through the people. How he would be in service, how he would wait outside his tent to serve, to welcome, to host, and to be there for total strangers. And it is through his love to people that it translated into his love to God, because the ultimate love, you can say it, it's like the unconditional love. Unconditional love, when you serve, when you give, when you share, when you host, when you feed, when you nurture a total stranger to stay in your home for as long as you want, for as long as it takes, for as long as you need, and not asking anything in return, that is the love that obviously I can't imagine myself being like that, opening my door and, and seeking, strangers to come into my house. I'm a little far. But imagine that this would be kind of the ultimate. And, we've been taught that the ultimate sharing is the anonymous one. Is the anonymous one. What is behind the idea of anonymous sharing? It is the sharing that other people don't recognize you, don't approve of you. Because when we share, most of the time, and that would be a great opportunity for each and every single one of us to study, to dig in a little bit into our sharing. That with every act of our sharing, there is a little piece of retribution, approval, recognition. And if even if there is none of that, and you'd ask this person, so what do you share? If the person says, oh, it's because it makes me happy, because it's the right thing to do. If it makes you happy, that is a little bit step away from what Abraham represents. Why? Because in the essence of making you happy, there is a desire to receive. It brings you satisfaction. It brings you fulfillment. So I'm not here to express an idea and say, let's stop all the sharing that we do and we only should share the way that Abraham shares. We learn about Abraham because it gives us what would be sharing in perfection. Sharing in perfection would be that you share with a total stranger and you are seeking zero approval and recognition. That person would be gone. That person is a traveler. 100% of the people that would come into their tent, Abraham and Sarah, would consider them as kings, would treat them as royalty. Total stranger. And we know that they're not seeking approval and recognition because the way that they came, they're just gonna go and they'll never see them again potentially. And you know what? At the end of the day, it came to Abraham pushing himself to such limits that the incredible miracle, one of the incredible miracles that happened was that his wife, Sarah, physically, genetically could not bear children. But because of their sacrifice, their self sacrifice, something changed in her on the DNA level. Not only that she was suddenly able to have children, but their age. That at their age, that they could. I mean, today, when I hear, that a woman 63 or 68 got pregnant and actually had a baby, I mean, you hear something like that. First of all, you say something is off. Something is no. Like somebody is fooling with us. It's not possible. And you know what? This is exactly the reason why it's not possible. It's because our minds collectively dictates what is right and what is wrong, what's possible and what is not possible. And so this is the kind of love that emanated, radiated 3,000 years ago. It wasn't just Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all the descendants that represented this kind of love. And so, although they're talking about the love of God, they were not like you're thinking about like in a religious or even a spiritual way. To love God is not to pray and to meditate. To love God is how you treat your fellow man. Because initially, that's the reason why we were put here. So that we can be like God, not with ourselves. Well, I'm sharing because it makes me happy. Oh, so it's not about you. So it is about you. We were put here on earth to reach that ultimate love so that we can activate the godly feature within me, which is the ultimate sharing. If there was nobody on an isolated, lost island, I wouldn't have the capacity to activate the godly feature that is within me, which is to share. I need people to activate that feature of sharing, true and conditional sharing. And that is a whole range of, let's call it impossible. Love the neighbor as thyself. I mean, I'm just thinking about, like a multitude of people that are today in my life. I love them to certain degrees, more, less, more and less. Anybody that I love unconditionally? Ask yourself that question. Again, if you love your own child unconditionally, it doesn't exactly, you know, checks in as unconditional love because it's like you're loving yourself. It's your own blood. But loving a total stranger through your actions, nobody is expecting us to open the door and bringing in a total stranger in nowadays. It's hard. It's hard to trust anybody today. It's a hard thing. I just spent a few years in Los Angeles. It wasn't pleasant. I was going to sleep not feeling safe. Not feeling safe. I don't know if you're following the news, but Los Angeles has become like a very challenging city with the insecurity and homeless situation. It's a very difficult situation over there. I just saw like a documentary on the news like 2 days ago. It's even worse than what I thought, and it gets worse every single day. The sheriff department, the police, they say like, oh, like it's like years of mismanagement, bad decisions, and nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody sees the end of it. So to practice love the neighbor as thyself, to open your door and just let any scary thing, scary thing. So if you're in an environment where it feels a little bit safer, maybe you could practice it, but then even then, I wouldn't feel, like Abraham the patriarch. I mean, the guy had a tent and he had like a whole different context and condition, and he was more elevated. And the Ari, the Rav Isaac Loya, we just had his death anniversary a few days ago. He said, we are going through the darkest time. The darkest time. It's not like the darkest time, like there is no light, physical light outside. But we are at the last sprint of this course. The last sprint. So the way that energetically, so the Zohar mentioned the Sfirot, that the Tikkun Olam, the correction of the world began, is that first you correct the seed level, or should I say, Keter, the crown. And then you correct Chokhmah, Binah, Chesed, Gvura, until you get to the level of Malchut. In the age of Aquarius, we are correcting the level of Malchut. It is the last level to correct. When you think about all this, and the Zohar talks about it, and the Ari talks about it, is that when you'd be born, let's say in the age where you are correcting Keter, or even Chesed, it's full of light. It's full of light, but not so much desire to receive for the self alone. And so Moses, Abraham, Jacob, they all came, like 5,400 years ago, 3,000 years ago. But then afterwards, came their descendant, Noah. And it says that there was no such tzaddik as Noah, bedorotav, which is in his generation, which is after Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses. And the Zohar adds, but if he would be born in the time of Abraham, he would be just a regular person. You follow what I'm saying? Now, we are thousands of years after all those giants. So there is much less light and much more desire to receive for the self alone. More desire to receive for the self alone, it's more illusion, more light in disguise, more challenges in disguise. So it is a challenge, but it is a blessing in disguise. Everybody says, but the light is everywhere and it's with us all the time, which is true. But it's much more disguised in nowadays than it was 3,000 or 5,000 years ago. So for us to overcome a challenge, we would reveal exponentially much more light than Abraham 5,000 years ago. So he was tested and he revealed the kind of light that only him was able to reveal. And equally, the challenges that we are going through in our lifetime, only me, only you, have been designated to reveal the kind of light that you're about to reveal, overcoming the challenges that you're going through. And so, to make the journey easier, where through the challenges there is a little bit less illusion, the Zohar gives us here the remedy. The greatest support system and revelation of light is through the love to the Creator. But again, the love to the Creator, I don't have that relationship between me and God direct. We were put on this earth with all these intermediaries that are human beings, that are animals, that is nature. And the way that we treat it, that we treat ourselves, that we treat each other, determines our love to the Creator. Makes sense, right? Makes sense. Praying, meditating helps. Activating the godly features that is within each and every single one of us with the ultimate, that is the saying of love, of support, of guidance, of teaching. This is the best way that we can show love to our Creator. Any question or comment? Okay, I guess everything is clear. That's very good. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. And I'll see you again next Monday, God willing.
Thank you, Yehuda.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.